thought it'd still be fun.
Me too.
I was telling everybody it's gonna be like when you're in high school and you're picking a club. So I'll never say
It
what.
was different than mine.
Yeah, we like walked around. They had little tables set up. You didn't do that?
Oh gosh, no. I'm much older than you.
Okay. You guys didn't do fun things or?
I think I graduated high school when you were in kindergarten, so yeah.
Well, we don't know that.
When I graduated high school in 2001.
Oh, wait. I was born in
There you
2001.
go. You were born in
Okay.
2000.
But you know what? To make you feel really good, I always forget how old you are because it doesn't feel that way. Does that make you feel better? Because I always think you're like my sister's age.
You forget that I'm an old lady. That's great. I love that. Okay. Good morning, Renee. You're the only one here.
Oh, should we leave the meeting controls up so you can admit people?
Are you kidding me?
Not kidding. No, I just told
Good
Madison
dear.
we should bring in Gary's cutout so I have someone to talk to. Yeah. But the good part of this is then that I'm going to be able to get through some of this a little faster probably if it's just the two of us. So hopefully it won't take us quite as long to do everything. So that's good. Good stuff. So today is about growing your database though, and I obviously am quite passionate about this topic for many reasons, but mostly because I do believe truly and wholeheartedly that your database is your business. So today we're going to learn about your database, how it affects your real estate business, and yeah, lead generation pretty much. So all the leads you gather have to go somewhere, and this is where they go. They go to your database. Once your leads or contacts are captured in your database, you can then leverage your database to cultivate relationships and, of course, repeat and generate new and referral business. So ultimately, though, that's what you've been doing with your success system. So tell me, how have your activities from your success system been going? That's you, Renee.
Do you want me to answer? I'm sorry. I'm sick today too, so it's a little extra.
Okay.
I took the opportunity yesterday. My sphere is very small, but I took the opportunity yesterday to text every single one of them and check on them and see how the weather was. And I've been doing the 10-5-1 check-ins on Facebook, and I have been racking my brain like, where am I going to come up with more people to talk to? And I have decided I'm going to door knock expireds.
Okay. That is progress, right? That's great. So you said that you were having a hard time coming up with more people to talk to. So was that the only challenge you were encountering, or was that just one of several?
I really just don't know who to call. Like, and when we did the sphere of influence thing yesterday, it said your average contacts was 300. And I just don't have that many people because I haven't lived here very long.
Yeah, no, I get that totally. So how many people in total do you have that you're communicating with?
I didn't count, but it's less than 50, probably 30. But I do need to look at with my database. Since I'm farming, I don't have their phone numbers, but I thought about just going like, you know, and go to their doors, but sending another note as well.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you are on top of it. Yeah, obviously the goal is always just to grow the database and grow the sphere of influence. And I think you're doing the right thing though by choosing to go down the path of whether it be expireds or even farming your community. You're going to be able to add people to your sphere of influence that way. So that's great. So by the end of today, you will be able to identify the key information that you need for each contact in your database. So as you're adding them, you'll know what to put there. You'll also be able to determine categories and segments for your contacts in your database. And you've heard me talk to you about this a million times. That's going to be, we're going to talk about tagging your database. That way you can find things easily in it. And also build your database by asking your sphere of influence for referrals. So that's another really great way to grow that sphere of influence is by asking them who they know. Because if they're already in your sphere of influence, odds are good that you already know, like, and trust them, and birds of a feather flock together. So why not get other people we know, like, and trust, right? Okay. All right, so your database is your business. Building up the number of names in it and a relationship with those names is really at the very core of what building a real estate business is all about. And that's what Gary Keller tells us in The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Have you ever thought about the idea that your database is your business? I'm sure you have, because it's true. With no database, essentially, you have no business. Okay, and you're going to learn today how you feed and care for your database. And by doing so, you turn it into a data bank because each person essentially becomes worth an amount of money. All right, you're actually even going to learn how to make your database saleable, meaning that if you ever choose to retire or get out of the business, you're going to know how to do that. All right, because you're going to know how to be able to attach a dollar amount to each contact that's in there. And maybe someone will want to buy that database from you. So in the previous session, lead generation, you got your first taste of what a database is and talked about a few ways to add people to your database as you move through your day. So once again, we're going to be diving deep into how to bring you new repeat and referral business. Oops, we got some more people trying to get in. Hi, Scott. Good morning. We don't have many people here today. It's just you and Renee. All right, so this is your database defined. Okay. If you think of your database as a container, it holds the contact information for all of your contacts. And it's going to also hold all of your leads. Now, there's a difference between leads and contacts. What's the difference? Well, leads are people who've expressed interest in service or offering or an offering that you've put on social media. So there are people you already sort of have permission to communicate with. There are people that you already know, like, and trust. Okay. Contacts are people, leads are people you haven't established a relationship with, and contacts are people you have a relationship with. So when we're looking at this, it's difficult sometimes because when you go into your applets in command, it's called contacts, right? And once again, contacts are people you have a relationship with, they know you, and you have permission to engage in communication with them. But we always say we put everybody in our contacts, right? We put everybody in our CRM, our customer relationship manager system. Ours in command just happens to be called contacts, but your leads and your contacts should both be in your contacts applets. Okay, so even if you haven't established a relationship yet, and you're only really having a one-way communication, you should still absolutely be putting those into your database in that way. Now, the people that are truly your contacts, so the people that you have that relationship with, you know them, and you're engaging in communication with them, those people are golden. Okay, so we need to make sure that we are tagging them specifically so we are able to know who those people are that we have that relationship with. Your first task will always be to fill your database with your sphere of influence. Those should be the first people that go into that contacts applet. Okay. Come on. Do the thing I want you to do. No? There we go. Okay. If you're wondering where I'm at in your participant guide, I'm going to be on page 6.3. You're going to see this model. Right? So this is the lead generation model. You're going to see at the top, that's the lead capture. That's your prospecting and marketing. It's going to go into the funnel. And in the middle, you see leads and contacts. Once again, Leads are for we're forming relationships, and contacts is where we strengthen existing relationships. Once we've strengthened those existing relationships, we're then able to cultivate the contacts for conversion. That's step number 3 down here. That's interactive and needs-based offerings. Okay, so this is where we're providing those items of value that you often hear us talking about. Number 4 down there, that is that where we have new and repeat business on the left side of it. And on the right side, you're going to see referrals. Of course, our goal is always to make new and repeat customers into referrals, right? Where we're going to follow the arrow all the way back up to that lead capture again. Okay. So, where is your database represented? When you're looking at your database, are you still in the lead generation portion of your database? Or are you in relationship management? Or are you in that client and referral loop? Your database probably is in the relationship management phase, right here, where we're capturing those leads, they're going into the funnel, and we are right here in the middle. Okay. And while the relationships you build and develop will grow your business through that repeat and referral business, we have to spend some time nurturing there in the middle, right? And your database is going to do a lot for you to help you nurture in that way. It's going to keep you organized. It's going to keep a record of communications of the relationship, but that's only if you take good notes. So you've really got to make sure that you've systematized your communication. Your database will also help you automate tasks. And when you're in this portion of your database, you really have to stay up on the follow-up and stay communicative with those folks. The only way you're going to remember to do that is by setting tasks. And understand, as we were saying before, that if we can nurture this well, and we're cultivating these contacts for conversion, we're moving to step 3. This is where the bulk of the value of your database is in those folks right there. Okay, your database holds value and can be sold if you choose to retire or close your business. And on top of it, this sure beats a notepad and names or sticky notes, right? So you've learned that command is a smart database and that the CRM function, that contacts functionality, is just one small tidbit of what command can do. Command is that database of names like we talked about and contact information, but it's also a goal tracker. It's your tasks manager. It has a marketing suite where, of course, you can send out postcards and mailers and all of those great things. But it also has a referral network. So that is another way for you to be able to cultivate another stream of income within the real estate realm. We often talk about the fact that in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, Gary Keller tells us we should have 7 streams of income at all times. And real estate sales should be just one of those seven streams. Another one can be referral business and using that referral applet that is there in command. And also keep in mind, command is ever evolving. It's an ever evolving tool. So if for some reason you are in command and you go, hey, that doesn't look exactly the way it did the last time I was here, you're probably right. It's updating all the time. And because it's updating all the time, it's our responsibility to make sure that we know when those updates happen. Okay. All right, if you go over to page 6.4, that's where I'm at. So now you know the why of a database, of using a database. So we have to remember that your database is your business. So let's talk about how the 4 laws help your database and business thrive. First and foremost, the 4 laws of a database is build. The first one is build a database. The second one is feed it every day. Feed it every day. The third law is communicate with your database systematically or in a systematic way. And number 4 is service all the leads that come your way. Now we're going to dive deep into each one of these laws in the next few minutes. But before we do you guys have any questions or any aha about what we just talked about? All right, well then we'll just keep going. The next one we're on is page 6.5 in your student guide. The 4 laws of a database. The first law is to build your database. And you've already been doing this. You've been doing this through your conversations. You've been doing this through your lead generation, through your success system activities. You are on top of it. You are doing that as we speak. Okay. And the first names to put into your database are your sphere of influence, your family, your friends, your coworkers, and the people who you encounter regularly. And by encounter regularly, I do mean people like your dentist, your kid's teacher, the person that fills your coffee, your barista every day, whomever that might be that you're interacting with. Believe it or not, that is your sphere of influence, and all of those folks should be going into your database. Your mail carrier, your UPS guy, all that stuff. Okay. So the most basic level of each contact, you should have a name, contact information, and what we say is a past business record, if any, meaning have they done business with you at all, and if they have, what did it look like, right? So if I'm creating my contacts, I probably want more information than that though. This is just the basic level of what I need to have to find success. Other things I might want their birthday. I might want to know, do they own? Do they rent? How long have they been renting? I might want to know the answers to what we call those Ford questions, right? Their family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. So, who are the people in their family? What do they like to do for fun? What do they do for a living? What's their long-term goals for their family and their friends? So Command does make it easy to build that database because you have lots of things that you can fill in about each person. So you have options. You can enter contacts manually in either Command or the Command applet. You can sync your contacts with Command from third-party systems like Google Contacts, iCloud, iPhone contacts can be easily synced, or you can import contacts into Command using the command import template, and you can also export them to another system if you so choose. So please understand that there are many ways to get that information into Command without having to manually input all of it. And that way it doesn't feel quite as overwhelming. You simply have to go back and clean up those contacts to make it a little easier. So this makes it easy for you to add details for each one of those contacts because there's going to be lots of fields for you to fill in. And you can personalize each with tags. So this is where it tells me to take you guys through the process of entering a contact into command. Do you guys know how to enter a contact into command?
Yes.
Yes. You feel confident that you know how to do that?
Yes.
Okay, great. I won't take the time and do that then. If you find yourself in a position where you're like, I don't know that, or maybe I have a question, you can always go to answers.kw.com and just simply type in add a contact. It's going to take you through step by step exactly what to do should you want to do that. Okay. So you can also check out Command Your Database on Connect. So if you, once again, go into Command, you go up to the top, you click Connect, there's going to be a search bar that pops up. And if you put in Command Your Database, it's going to give you a step-by-step simple instructions on exactly what to do. All right. Like I said, go to answers.kw.com. And you can also search for the Ignite reference guide, and that's going to show you what to do as well. All right. Somebody else trying to get in here. Good morning, Sophia. So if you would like more information on building your database, check out the online on-demand course, Build a $1 Million Database and Own Your Future. It's within a series called No Ceilings, Level Up Your Lead Generation. Okay, and you can find all of that on Connect.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, the series is called No Ceilings, Level Up Your Lead Generation. And the specific one that you're looking for is Build a $1 Million Database and Own Your Future.
Can we go into Connect to find that?
Yep. Yep. Okay, do we have any ahas about building a database? Okay, let's move on then. All right, so the second law is to feed your database. If you're wondering where I'm at in your participant guide, I'm on page 6.6. So you probably remember from the previous lesson that there are two pathways for feeding contacts and leads in your database, and those are prospecting and marketing. Okay? Prospecting and marketing. So what does feed your database mean? It means adding people to your database. So if you ever hear us say, we need to feed it every day, it simply means that we need to be adding people to our database every single day. Once again, that's your sphere of influence, your coworkers, your teachers, your children's teachers, your dentists, people from your neighborhood that you know. And the rest of that feed comes from lead generating. So those dreaded cold interactions that we're having. And I say dreaded because there's a lot of stories that we tell ourselves about lead generation. There's a lot of walls that we build around our abilities to be able to do things like cold call or door knock or ask people for business. And I say there's stories we tell ourselves because it's a lot less scary than we make it in our head. So prospecting is actively seeking and building relationships through your conversations. Okay, prospecting is cost effective and you're able to do it directly. And you'll know immediately when the person is able, willing, ready to do business. Okay, marketing is a much more passive way of feeding your database. And yet we tend to gravitate toward marketing when it comes to lead generation. Why do you guys think that we tend to lean towards marketing? It's less scary. It's less scary to put on an ad than it is to pick up the phone and directly ask someone for business. Okay? And we're putting those ads out on places like social media. Maybe it's even, if you're old school, in newspapers or in magazines, but you'll see that there are agents who will spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on doing all of that before they ever just simply pick up the phone and ask someone for business. Building your database can be accomplished economically by asking everyone you know who they know and who might benefit from your services or may have an immediate real estate need. So we just simply have to ask people, who do you know? Who might benefit from my services? Who do you know who has an immediate need? A lot of it comes down to the way we word what we're asking, right? We talk about being nervous about asking people for business because it feels very salesy when we call and say, are you looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? Well, hear me out. Don't be super salesy then. Ask who you can help, because that's ultimately what you want to do. And they may go, you know what? That's me. That person is me. I would love the help. Or they may go, you know what? Here's another name for your database. Top agents run highly productive businesses based solely on their sphere. And their sphere then becomes that repeat and referral business. Okay. But that's not all that will be in your database. Of course, there's going to be new business, and that comes from when someone in your sphere begins thinking about buying or selling. The repeat business comes from when clients you've helped in the past are so pleased with your service that they come back to you and they say, hey, help me buy this house, you want to help me sell it and buy my next one? Or referral business, and that comes from clients who have used you before or know of your seller service, and now they're saying, hey, friend of mine, you should really use my realtor because they were the best at everything they did. Okay? And that is that step right there in that file. If you're wondering where I'm at, by the way, I'm on page 6.7. Okay. So who might your sphere refer you to? So you're calling and you're asking for business and you're saying, hey, who do you know? Who might benefit from my services? Who may have an immediate need? And who might those people send you to? Well, probably their neighbors, maybe their children or their relatives, depending on someone's age, right? Or maybe their friends and their coworkers. And how do we ensure that our sphere is going to refer us? Well, like I said, we simply have to ask. We have to ask for the referral every time, systematically. So as part of the productivity coaching program, you're going to hear me say a million times that the purpose of every time we make a contact is to ask for the appointment, right? It's to ask for the business. And the same time, and in the same vein, the purpose of every one of those appointments is to ask for the referral. Okay. Another way that you can ensure that your sphere will refer you is by explaining to them how to give you a referral. A lot of times we think that just by doing a good enough job, that's simply, oh, I'm gonna go that across the room. A lot of times we think that that's going to be just enough for them to give us a referral. Well, it's not if they don't know the easiest way and the best way to communicate with you and the best way to do that. Okay. So we have to tell them exactly what to do, and we have to inspect what we're expecting out of them. If we're expecting them to give us referrals and they're not doing that, we have to ask ourselves then, why aren't they? And have I not been clear enough with these directions, right? So one way that I systematized it within my business was to end every one of my appointments with a customer by saying to them, I've really enjoyed working with you so far. Who do you know that I can help? And if they go, I'm not sure, you say, that's okay. When you think of someone, shoot me a text message and let me know what their name is, and I'll reach out to them right away. Or if you'd feel more comfortable, there is a link in the signature of my emails that you can click and you can send me a referral. I systematized the referral giving process for them. And what I found is that a lot of people actually use that link. Maybe they felt uncomfortable reaching out directly, but for some reason, that passive form of just putting that person's information into that link was much more helpful. That link just went to a Google form where we grabbed the information. Now, could you do it even better now and maybe create a landing page to collect the information? Yeah, you absolutely could. It's one of those great functionalities of Pans. So how do you ensure your sphere gives you a referral to you? By sharing how important it is as well. We can't expect people to understand how real estate businesses are grown without explaining it to them. So if you ever come to a buyer consultation with me or a listing consultation, I absolutely have a portion of that where I explain to them that referral business is the backbone of my business. I share with them how important it is. And by sharing that, they then understand and almost feel obligated to help me keep building my business in that way. Okay. But another way to ensure that your sphere is going to refer to you is by thanking them with words or even a gift for a referral. Now, we should never give them a gift for a close of business because, well, frankly, that's against the law. But we should be thanking them for and rewarding the good behavior, essentially, of them giving us a referral. So one of the things that I did is that anytime someone filled out that referral link for me or gave me a referral, is I had a system where I automatically sent them a thank you card for the referral with a $5 Starbucks gift card in it. Now, I don't know if that referral is ever going to get to a closing table, and yet I do know that I want them to keep up with that behavior, so I'm going to reward it every time. Your sphere wants to help you, and they're invested in your success because they know, like, and trust you. Okay. So there are other ways that you can also feed your database. And one of those is by encouraging the people you know to write a testimonial for you or a review of your service. So you might be thinking, okay, great, but I've not done any business, or maybe I'm pretty new to this business. I don't really have anybody to write that. What I'm going to say to you is that is the limiting belief, because all of the people that are in your sphere of influence, they have an opinion of you and how you can help someone. It's fine if your first reviews are, Joe is a really great guy, he's super trustworthy. It doesn't have to say he got us the best price on a house. It doesn't have to say that. It can be simply just a review about your character, and that alone will help to build the integrity on your end, first of all, right? Because now you've got a standard you have to live up to, but also it's going to help to build your reputation across the board. So another way that you can feed your database is by offering an item of value. And we talk about this all the time in coaching, right? It's a call to action and an item of value. Those are the two keys to get to success in communicating with your database. So the item of value could be anything from an update on the market in your area to something that yeah, and that can be something easy that you've created, right? Or it could be even just information about what's happening in your community. So maybe there's festivals that are happening or a new restaurant that's opened, or, you know, there's gonna be days off school, right? You can just be another place for that information. Be really easy for you to be able to, if you heard Fayette County Schools was out of school, right? You could sort your database by anybody that lives in Lexington that had kids and start picking up the phone and going, hey, I don't know if you saw the internet or you've heard yet, but it sounds like you guys are off school tomorrow. Once again, we're a source of information and we're providing an item of value for them. Now, I'm sure all of you have a friend or a family member that can write a testimonial for you. Okay, these are your first cheerleaders, right? So maybe it's your mom, maybe it's your sister, or maybe it is the girl that does your hair. I don't know who that is, right? But I would encourage you to think of who those people are, brainstorm who they may be, and then write it down. Write down 5 names on page 6.8 that you're going to ask for a testimonial. As soon as we leave class today, you're going to call them and you're going to say, hey, could you write a testimonial for me? Take a couple of minutes, write down those 5 names for me. Okay, everybody got your 5 names? Who are you going to reach out to? Shout it out to me.
Put down 3 friends and my sister.
Great. Good stuff. Good stuff.
I put down my mom, old coworkers, and friends.
Yeah. Those are great people to talk to, especially your old coworkers, right? They can talk to your work ethic for sure. That's awesome. So when we're thinking about those testimonials, ask yourself, what areas of business or customer service could you ask someone to provide a testimonial or review on? So like I was saying, Sophia, you're going to talk to the people that are your old coworkers. Can they talk to your responsiveness? Could they talk to your attention to detail, your professionalism? Could your mom speak to your empathy? Right? All of these things play a really important role in what we do. Okay, so I want you to think of some of those things that they could speak about specifically about you. All right, so before we move on, does anyone have any ahas about feeding your database?
I have a question.
Sure.
So when they do the testimonials or referrals or reviews, sorry, Where does that go?
Well, it can go on a Google page. You can simply collect that and it can become part of your listing and buyer presentation, right? You can put those on a page for that. They can go on your Facebook page. Really anywhere that someone is going to go to learn more about you. So if have been using Command to create your website, you can add a page for testimonials on your Command website as well. All right, anything else, guys? Okay, well, let's hop into the third law then. The third law is to communicate with your database. Communicate with your database. So in the previous session, you learned about the importance of relationships in real estate, along with different ways that you can communicate with your database, and those are all called touches. Communicating with your database is accomplished through those touches, and you'll pair those with meaningful, relevant, timely information. Right. So Gary Keller tells us in The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, to succeed at a high level in real estate sales, you must commit to frequent contact with a database with the intent of building close relationships. This quote says, you must commit to frequent contacts. Now I'm going to ask you, how long must you commit to building those relationships? How long do you think it takes to build those relationships?
I think it can vary depending on, the relationship you have with that person, but it could take months or years or, your whole career.
Yeah, absolutely. It's forever, guys. That's how long it takes. It takes the entire time that you're in business, because your relationship with the people in your database will be ever evolving and ever changing. And as it does, how you communicate with them will also need to change and evolve. Okay. So don't ever think that, okay, well, I moved them out of this phase where I'm communicating with them, and now I'm going to go into this transaction with them. And then I'm going to close that transaction, and then the communication has to happen in every single phase. The way you communicate with your database will depend on whether it's a lead or a contact, of course, right? So we talked about the difference between the two. But we're focusing on relationship building and strengthening with our contacts. And those are the people that we have the permission to have two-way conversations with. As you establish and build relationships, you learn more about a person's motivations, dreams, interests, goals. And then you're going to categorize or segment people into common interests or categories. That way, everyone is receiving communication that is specific to them with language they're going to understand and find relevant. Because information that's meaningful and feels personal is information that they're more likely to respond to. And once again, that's the goal, right? So I want you to think about what are some segments or categories you might already naturally have in your database. An easy one is like homeowners versus renters, right? Or how about people with children versus people without children? People with pets. Okay? Those are all categories. But I want you guys to think about, what are some of those segments or categories? What do you think? What are some of the segments or categories that you have within your business?
I have a lot of newlywed like friends that are in apartments looking for houses right now, and young couples with newborns that are looking for houses. So I think that's one big segment for me.
That is an excellent place to be within your business, truly. Because people make life choices about homes when they get married, when they have
Yeah.
babies, right? That's when they're
Yeah.
making those. Okay, that's great. Another form of lead generation that I have used when I was at that point in my life was I would go to conventions. So we had one in Orlando, it was called MommyCon. And it was for the entire, like, I guess, parenting industry. It was this big convention. And I got a booth. It cost me $1,700. And yes, that is a lot of money. However, I got the entire attendee list by paying that. So every person who had bought a ticket to go to MommyCon, I got their name, their phone number, and their email address. So that means they're either pregnant, thinking about getting pregnant, or just had a baby. Right? These are all people that are looking to make those changes. So that might be something for you to think about when you're looking at new ways to grow that database. Okay. What are some other segments that you guys have in your database? Anybody? Any segments? Okay. Then let's move on. I want you to look at the list that you just generated. And I want you to dive a little deeper. Because we're going to need to purposely segment your database so you can target a message that appeals to them, right? So some segmentation you may not have thought of, but I would encourage you to implement into a database are, clients, past clients. And we know that clients are different than customers, right? Clients are those folks that we already have a signed agreement with. Customers are people who we don't, right? VIPs, a VIP database is important to have. And how you define who a VIP is for you might be different than how I have. In my business, a VIP was anybody who had done more than one deal with me or had done a deal with me and referred me business. So essentially anyone in my database who I had at least 2 pieces of business from, they were a VIP. People with specific hobbies or interests. So maybe somebody who's a veteran, right? Or somebody who's an investor. Those are all people that would be really great to have segmented out so that you're able to communicate with them specifically. These segments can become tags so that you can easily search your database and you pull up your clients. And when I say communicate with them, we're able to do things now like once we have them segmented out, we can set them up on smart plans specifically that talk about things that they're going to understand or enjoy. But also, I can pull them up and I can now call just those people, right? It's easy to do that. And that way we can show them things that bring value directly to their lives that may not bring value to the lives of others. So even though words and topics of your messaging will change, there are some things that will remain consistent no matter what segment you're communicating with. Your messaging should always match the motivation of that segment. Okay? Your messaging should always help to uncover if they're ready, willing, or able, or if maybe they have a time frame that they're looking to do business. So essentially, it should include a call to action. Regardless of who you're speaking with, it should always include a call to action. Your communication should always tell them how they can communicate with you, right? Or the best way to contact you. I don't know how many people I have seen in the past create like passages on or ads on Instagram or somewhere on social media, and they don't put their own like phone number on it. And they'll go, oh, well, it's in my profile. I'm like, they're not going to put that. They want to be able to look at it and get your information. So I'm going to encourage you guys to make sure that when you're creating marketing like that, even if it's very targeted, that it still has all your contact information in it. So we're going to dig a little bit deeper into some of that targeted marketing in just a little bit. But I don't want you guys to forget that your messaging needs a method and a way to be communicated. Okay. And remember that the way you communicate with someone may be different based on a lot of different things. So maybe, for instance, I am working with people who are really into golf, right? I'm talking to those folks who are excited about purchasing golf properties. Tell me, what do we know about golf properties or golf course properties? What do we know about them?
High value.
Yeah, they're going to be high value. Do you think that the people who can afford to purchase a golf course property are maybe spending their time in the same way as an average first-time home buyer?
No.
Probably not.
No, they sure aren't. They sure aren't. So if I want to sell golf course properties, I may need to communicate by sponsoring a golf scramble, right? So they can see me face to face. Whereas somebody who's a dog lover, if I want to communicate with them, that messaging maybe could easily be delivered through an ad in a dog magazine, right? Because once again, that's where those people are going to be. Now, let's brainstorm some items of value or ways to communicate, regardless of the message, segment, or touch, ways to communicate that will always pair with a communication of value. So, for instance, some items of value might be things like market statistics, seasonal prep checklists for homeowners, real estate forecasting data. So let's brainstorm some items of value based on the segments that you wrote down that you have within your database. I want you guys to take a few minutes, write down some items of value that you could provide to those specific segments. Okay. What are some items of value that you wrote down?
So for summer, I'm going to try to do a pancake breakfast in my cul-de-sac once a month and invite my farm. And at the end of the summer, if it's in my budget, I want to have a Kona ice truck.
Oh, I love that. That's great. Yeah. That's an item of value for sure. I mean, I can tell you one thing that if you are working with people that have kids and you provide value to the kids, you always provide value to the parents. You want to get to the parents, get to the kids. That's it, right? Okay, what else? What are some other items of value? Well, I can tell you if I have somebody in my database who I have segmented out as a veteran or interested in the military, maybe military family, whatever that may be, I would probably, an item of value I would communicate with them is if there are specific events happening in the community that are tailored to maybe they're sponsored by the VA or they're tailored to people in military, right? So particularly around times like Memorial Day, Veterans Day, like for instance, I probably an item of value is I would send a thank you card to every single person in my database that was a veteran on Veterans Day. It's that simple. That can be the item of value. It's taking the time to simply say thank you. Okay. So it can be as simple as that, as easy as hiring the Kona ice truck, or even doing something as simple as sending out information about the Chamber of Commerce and what's happening in the Chamber of Commerce. So for instance, if I have people in my database who own small businesses, I'm going to send out Chamber of Commerce information to them. And that's going to be one of the items of value ways I'm able to communicate with them. Now, as you can see here, oh, I got Alan trying to get in. There we go. We're going to dive deeper in later sessions of Ignite into your 19 to connect, your 1 to cement, and your 36 to convert. But you're going to learn that this is 19 touches each year, 1 high value touch, and then this one is 36 touches each year. So you're going to learn how to implement those into your database, into your calendar, create smart plans around them. So a lot of this naturally just happens for you. You're not having to create it in the moment. And each one of these things is then going to keep the people engaged and active within your database. Okay. So the 19 to connect over here, that is for those people who we don't already maybe know or have a business relationship with. Okay. Okay. What did I do? Come on. Nope. There we go. Yeah, the 19 to connect are those folks that we don't have a business relationship with yet. The 1 high value touch, this is where we say it's that 1 high value touch to cement And that's a high value touch that solidifies the relationship you have just established and open doors for future interactions. And you're 36 to convert. This is where your customer is going to spend most of their time, is within this 36 touch hit. Now, this is how we turn our database into a data bank. This is how keeping them engaged adds actual monetary value to each one of the contacts in your database. Because the more they engage, the more likely they are to convert. Once the conversion happens, then we start to see the real, actual physical dollars. Until then, we have perceived value here on the contact. Okay. So now, your contacts become your database. Your database, now that we're setting it up and we're systematically communicating with it, becomes your data bank. And people choose to do business with you. And that's what we're after, right? So we know that we have to consistently feed it. And we cannot ever neglect the communicating part. If you neglect the communication part of this whole process, you have essentially wasted your time lead generating. Your database will just be a spreadsheet of numbers and names. Okay. And you guys are going to hate this information, all right? But the most important communication you can make is the personal phone call. Regardless of age, regardless of demographic. And you're going to go, that's not true. My friends don't want to talk on the phone. Lies. We've got the stats to prove it. And I can give them all to you, but it's not going to probably sway your opinion anyway. The fact of the matter is, people value hearing your voice. They value communication, real communication. So, if you do nothing else with your database, you need to call every person in it 4 times a year. Once a quarter. Okay? And if you take nothing else out of today, other than you know now that you need to communicate with every person in your database at least 4 times a year, I'm a happy person. Okay? So please make sure that you're having that communication. Now, one of those calls could be a happy birthday call. So now you only got to come up with 3 other reasons to call. Okay? It's that simple. And no, a text message doesn't work the same way. No, making a video and sending a video of you saying the thing doesn't work the same way. Statistically speaking, we know conversion happens at the highest rate when we're having a voice-to-voice conversation with the people in our database. All right, before we move on, does anyone have any ahas about communicating with your database? Don't everyone talk at once. Come on, guys. Ahas, what did you learn?
I had heard of 36, but not the 19. So to differentiate that was something new.
Absolutely. And like I said, in other sessions, you're going to dive really deep into each one of those touches and what that looks like. So you've got some stuff to look forward to. And you're also going to find that we have smart plans already set up for those things in command. So it'll be real easy for you to implement. But once again, we need to be segmented correctly within our database. So we make sure that we're communicating with people properly and they're within the right plan, whether that be that 18 or that 36. Okay. All right, so our final law is to follow up. So it's to service all the leads. Okay. And a strong follow-up program is the only way that you're going to be able to do that. Your job is to build a community and serve the community. Gary Keller tells us that. A database is not only a container of information, but it is your business. And we've said that several times today. And Gary thinks of it as his job is to connect with you, to put you in my database and to be your realtor for life. Gary believes that if a name goes in your database, that is your responsibility to cherish that relationship so that he or you are their realtor for their lifetime. He thinks of his database as a community that he serves, and he adds that the size of your community is simply determined by you. I remember when I first started in real estate, I had come from a corporate job and I worked around a lot of people every single day. And then I got into real estate and I was going into the office at first and I went to my Ignite classes. And as soon as Ignite was over, real estate felt really lonely because I was working from home. I didn't have an office in the office and I wasn't really sure what I was supposed to be doing. I was trying to follow all of the things that I had learned in Ignite. And yet I just didn't have community. I didn't have anyone around me. And once I got a coach, my coach reminded me of this. The size of your community is determined by you. So I'm going to challenge all of you to the same thing. If you ever find yourself in a position where you feel lonely in real estate, or you feel like you don't have enough people in your database, remember that the only person holding you back is you. The only person determining the size of that community is you. And the best way for you to engage and grow your real estate community is by coming into the office and interacting with other agents in the office to build that real estate community. Or to build your database community, the best way is to once again be out in your community. The community you want to be a part of. Okay? So this is a great reminder that real estate is a relationship business. And we just learned in the last section that relationships are built voice to voice. So make sure that you're putting yourself in a position where you can be voice to voice on a daily basis. Okay. All right, so service all leads. This is a big part of building your community within your real estate business. A lead not followed up on essentially becomes someone else's lead. So you've heard me say before within our coaching program that if an agent doesn't get an agreement signed, then that customer is free game. Right? Once they have it signed and they become someone's client, Now they belong to one agent, right? The same thing with a lead. If you're not consistently communicating with and creating community with a lead, they're going to become someone else's lead, right? And someone like myself is going to get them to sign an agreement with me. And now you don't get to talk to them anymore. It's probably even fair to say that some of you may have the same people in your databases. You may know the same people out there. And who gets to claim the lead as theirs is the person who communicates the best and at the highest level. It's important that you're servicing all leads also so that you can know the source, knowing how the lead was generated. This is going to be important for you for calculating your return on investment, for your prospecting, your marketing methods. So if you're not communicating at a high level and you're not servicing that lead, right, you're not going to know how you got them. Eventually, they're just going to become a name in your database. But it's also important to service all your leads so you can track the relationship, you can track the conversations, and you can track what's going on in their lives. Each one of those interactions. And once again, so you can reward referrals, right? I've had people send me a lead who've never answered my phone call. So they were in my database. I called them all the time. I had them on a drip campaign. I was sending emails to them. I was sending updates to them. I was getting to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm just going to keep talking to them and I don't care if they talk back. I was convinced I was never going to hear from these people. One day my phone rang and the person on the other end of the phone said, hey, I got your information from a friend of mine. I'm looking to purchase a home over here on the lake. And I'm like, oh, lakefront property. All right. Cool. Who did you say sent you my way? And they said the name of those people that had never answered the phone for me before. Okay. But the fact that I continuously serviced that lead, I was top of mind when their friend said, hey, I want to buy a house on the lake. And they sent the lead to me. Now I mailed them the Starbucks card, said thank you for that. And it wasn't until after their friends had closed on their house that I ever heard from those people. But it's proof that servicing the lead is ultimately the name of the game. Okay. So Command makes it easy to service all of the people in your database. You can follow up by adding the contact, by adding more to the contact record. So keep in mind that what you see here are just a few of the things that you can add. In your contact record, you can add more relationships. There's a lot of other data that can be added. You can update your tasks. You can launch additional Spark plans, manage your referrals, and design all sorts of marketing materials as well as your website. So a lot of people also say to me, Beth, I'm new to real estate and Command is a great tool, but do you think I should really use it? There's all these other CRMs out there, whether it be Follow Up Boss or Lion Desk or Brivity or HubSpot or whatever. There's a million of them. First and foremost, Command, you already pay for it. So why would you pay another fee? Secondly, all of the rest of them, I guarantee you, their primary functionality is just as a CRM, a customer relationship manager. Command is an all-inclusive platform. You're getting a lot more for bang for your buck with Command. And I can tell you, I've used most of those programs, and Command took really all of the best parts of them. When Gary and his labs team created this platform, they really took all the best of those and put them into this one. So again, there is help for this on Connect. So you can check out Command Your Transactions. That's a step-by-step guide for simple instructions. You can find that in Connect, or you can go to answers.kw.com and you can find out how to do this as well. Okay, so that was Command Your Transactions. That's simple step-by-step instructions. All right, do we have any ahas over what we just learned?
I like the quote that you gave. Your job is to build a community and serve the community because it takes it from transactional to personal.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. A lot of real estate's a mental game, right? It's all about if we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. Right? And just like you said, Renee, when we take it from feeling very transactional to feeling like it's more of a true relationship-based business, it goes from feeling like icky, like we're begging for business, we're begging for money, to I'm helping you. Because ultimately that is what we are doing, is we are helping people on one of the biggest needs that they have, which is making really sound financial decisions around one of the biggest purchases of their entire life. That's what we're doing. Any other ahas, guys?
I liked the example that you brought up of that person that you kept contacting and never got a response from, but ended up getting a referral from them. I think for me, I can, as I'm starting out, it feels kind of like embarrassing and unnatural to be like pushing myself that I'm a real estate agent to people. But I think just getting over that kind of fear and embarrassment and just knowing that, even if they don't respond, I'll still come up in their mind when someone mentions real estate.
That's right. Another important thing to remember, Sophia, is that as adults, we have to hear or see something at least 7 times for it to cement into our brains. The average person has to see or hear something 7 times to commit it to memory. So think about that in your marketing. If we want to get a message across to the average person, we have to say it 7 times in different ways for it to even sink in. And I'm sure you've experienced this in other parts of your life where you go, oh, well, I swear I told this person this thing. I feel like I've told it to them 100 times. They don't listen to me. It's not that they don't listen. It's that as an average person, average adult, we have so many things going on in our lives that to receive messaging, it's got to be on repeat for that to happen. Right? Now, I want you to take it one step further and think to yourself, what if it's a message you weren't expecting to hear? Or maybe didn't necessarily want to hear? A lot of times they don't ask for our marketing, right? But we send it anyway. So if that's the case, sometimes you gotta send it more than 7 times to get that one message across. So I want you guys to keep that in mind when you're creating your messaging or you're doing you sit down to do your prospecting or you're calling with your follow-ups and you're like, I have called these people so many times. Oh my gosh. Remember, the average person is 7 times before they're even gonna hear you. And some people are below average, right? Which means it's gonna be more than 7 times before you get through to them. Before they even hear the message once. Okay. All right. So I believe feedback is a gift. And you guys can all give me that gift today if you'd like. You can go to KWU eval.com. Or you can scan that QR code there. And you're going to select that you're in Ignite. And then you're going to select that your instructor is not in the drop down section. Okay, so you're going to scroll all the way to the bottom and say instructor, not in the drop down. And then you're going to type in my name. That's Beth Gravilla, right? And you're going to let them know that you were in Ignite session 6, grow your database lead generation. And you can tell them how delightful I am. If you have nothing nice to say though, don't say anything at all. Everybody got that? Also, I'm going to encourage you guys to give to KW Cares. I'm super passionate about KW Cares and what it does for our community. And I've seen them work firsthand, and it's incredible the work that they do. And there are people right here in your market center who have received KW Cares grants for life-altering or life-changing traumas that have happened within their life. And we made a difference. Every dollar made a difference. Okay? So I would encourage you also, when you do a transactional sale through Keller Williams, you can choose to do what's called reoccurring giving, which means on every sale, you donate $5, you donate $10, whatever that might be. Okay, so if that's something you're interested in setting up, you can see myself, or you can see Jackie, who is your market center administrator, and we'll help you get that set up so that every time you have a closing, you give a few dollars of that to KW Cares. So we can give a hand up to the people that are within our community. KW Next Gen is really cool stuff. And this is something that I wish I would have had as a kid. It teaches kids that being an entrepreneur is an option. So many times we say to children, what do you want to be when you grow up? And we ask them to choose a singular profession. We don't talk to them about the option of building what they can be. And that's what KW Next Gen is all about. And they serve young professionals and entrepreneurs looking to grow personally, professionally, and financially. And they provide interactive learning experiences that help budding entrepreneurs, college students, and next gen leaders define their personal mission to a successful life through self-development events, coaching, and scholarships. I've been blessed to actually watch one of the events that they put on and watch the college students and high school students that were leaving that event in tears, because they saw a different life for themselves that they did walking in. And it's really powerful. And so if you have a couple extra bucks you want to throw it the way of KW Next Gen to help with their mission, I recommend that you do so because they're cool folks. All right, so let's go back to the 4 laws of database. So are you ready to turn your database into a data bank? The answer should be yes. All right. So well, now you have the tools and systems to create your database. You understand the value of your database and will commit to maximizing how you use it. You can continue to build and feed your database and begin to communicate it with it and service the people in your database. Now, an important step to take is understanding the tools if you haven't already. So, take action on this today. Go to answers.kw.com, search for the Ignite reference guide, and it's going to show you how to sync all of your contacts. So if you find yourself in a position where you go, I feel like I know more people than this, or maybe you go to your social media and you've got 2,000 people there, and you look in your phone and you've got another 600 contacts in your phone, right? But you only have 80 people in your database. I'm going to recommend that you go to this guide, this Ignite reference guide, and see how you can sync all of those contacts, whether it be from social media, your phone, your Google accounts, whatever it might be, and to boost your database. With your goal being having 201 plus people in your database. We know that anyone over 200 in your database is helping you build the strongest foundation possible to build a millionaire real estate agent business. And don't get discouraged if your database is not immediately yielding the results that you expected. Okay? Often agents quit too soon. Sometimes it can take 2 to 3 years to see a significant return on nurturing your database. Okay, eventually your database will start to reward you. Okay, but it's just like with farming. When we start farming a community, oftentimes we waste a lot of money and time because we don't give it enough time for it to really yield the results that we're searching for. So, same way with your database. It can take over a year of contacting people with a 36 touch campaign to see a significant result. It's not immediate. Okay. You have to think in the mindset of long-term returns. The National Association of Realtors tells us that people are moving about every 7 to 10 years. And like I said, if we want to be their realtor for life, and if it takes a few years even for us to get into a position where they do business, it could be more than a decade before they do 2 pieces of business with us. But that doesn't mean they fall out of our database, and it doesn't mean we stop communicating with them. We have to come from care. The real estate business is also a relationship business, and people do business with people they know, like, and trust. And it takes time to establish, especially with someone who's brand new off the street, right? That you're adding to that database, that new lead. Okay. So as we wrap up our learning sessions and we transition into our success systems, I want you to think big picture. Okay. I want you to think long term. Think about building your database, feeding your database, communicating with your database, and servicing that database at a high level. All right, so what is your mindset now? What are your ahas from our whole day? I'd like to hear 2 or 3 from you guys. What are your ahas from today?
One of mine is that I am just truly not using all the tools that I have in command and my database to build my business.
Yeah. And that, honestly, you're not alone in that. There's so many of us that don't even know that the tool is there, right? We, especially when we're new in the business, we get in and we learn how to use one part or one functionality. And as we're moving on and we're growing within the business, we don't take the time to stop and work on the business. We're so busy working in it, right? So helping people buy and sell, or lead generating, or marketing, or whatever that might be, that we don't take time to stop and work on the business. So maybe learn that next applet and command, or take time to really grow ourselves enough that we can take in that other information. One of the bold laws is that our business grows to the extent that we do, right? And I know that you and I talked about this too with time blocking. But if I looked at your calendar, I would ask you to really scrutinize, would your calendar show me that you value growing yourself and learning new skills? Right? So if you're learning now that an area of opportunity for you is that you're not utilizing this at a high level, I would ask you to go back and look at your time blocking strategy and say, have I time blocked to learn that next piece? Right? It should show up there for you. Okay, what else? What are other ahas from today?
For me, I think it's just being more intentional with reaching out and, doing those touches for people that I already know. And I think that will build the confidence that I need to reach out to, like expired and for sale by owners. Because I did call a few for sale by owners and I got yelled at and hung up, and they hung up on the phone. And I hear you have to grow some thick skin. But I feel like if I build my confidence with the people that I do know, I'll have more, experience and talking points with people outside of my sphere.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And don't worry about it. We've all gotten hung up on by an expired.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
Uh,
mean, like the person that I talked to, she's like, 40 realtors called me last week. Like, you all are all the same. So I was like, that's true. Every realtor in the area is going to be calling those same people. So, I need to kind of figure out what makes me stand out.
yeah, that goes back to that value proposition
Yeah.
that we talked about the other day, right?
Mm-hmm.
What makes you different, and what makes you different, and why should they work with you when they did have 40 other realtors call, right?
Yeah.
And it's likely that those other 40 realtors, there's people in there that have more experience than you do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So first and foremost, when we build a referral based business that is really foundational around that sphere of influence, we get a lot less of those hang up calls. We get a lot less of somebody yelling at us on the phone, right? That helps in terms of growing momentum for our business. So I'd encourage you rather than first calling the expireds and the for sale by owners, to start by calling the people that are already in your sphere of influence and asking them who they know. Or asking them who that you could get in front of to tell them about how you're different, right?
Yeah.
They're already way more invested, right? In you.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think that's probably a better foundational place for you to start than having somebody tell you to pound sand.
Mhm. Yeah, for
Right?
sure.
And if nothing else, it's just better for your ego, right?
Mhm.
That's good. That's good. Okay. What else? Any other ahas, guys? Okay. Well, each day at Ignite, you grow in how you think, feel, act, and implement what you've learned. And from learning in ahas, you move toward that achievement of that big life that we've been talking about, right? Because that's the whole goal of real estate, is to grow a big business so that we can live a really big life. That's what we're here for, right? To achieve your big goals. So taking the time to reflect on what you've learned is really important, all right? Which is why I asked for ahas, right? It builds in your confidence, it celebrates your growth, and you're going to learn that it also helps to keep track of those ahas. At a certain point, you'll go back and you'll look at this Ignite course and you'll go, oh my gosh, I can't believe that is where that light bulb turned on for me. Or you'll go, oh, I remember writing that down, but I haven't implemented that. Right? Now, when you go on and work on your success system, remember that that's where we work in our business together, supporting one another, and you should have accountability partners to do that. If you find yourself in a position where you're not having accountability partners, or you are struggling with accountability, hi, my name is Beth. I am your real estate coach, and I am happy to hold you accountable to the level in which you'd like to be held accountable. Okay. So if you find yourself within this business not having being held accountable or not feeling comfortable being held accountable, let's talk. Let's find a way that we can get you into a place of accountability and growth so that your business can grow. Okay. So I'm actually going to let you guys bounce out of here a little bit early, because that way I'm assuming you need to go fill up your water bottles, go to the bathroom, do all those other things before our team meeting starts in about 15-20 minutes. All right. Don't forget though to do your role play. Spend your 10 minutes preparing your call list today, your 45 minutes of real play, meaning making those phone calls, that 30 minutes of updating your database when you're done. For those of you in the coaching program, I have already posted your workout of the day for today as well. And you're going to notice it's structured in very much the same way as that success system. And there is a method behind that madness. It is structured based on the Rookie Real Estate Agent book that is out. And if you do not have that book, I recommend, as either a new agent or a newly relaunching their business agent, you go and put your little hands on it and you start reading it. Okay. You're going to take away some really great systems and some great structure to give yourself the balance you need to grow a great business and live a great life. Okay. These habits are the habits of success, period. Okay. You might not like them, but they are what they are. All right. If you guys need me or anything or help, you're welcome to reach out anytime. All of you should have my phone number and my email address. And I am happy to answer any questions that you have. Otherwise, I hope you all have a really great day. And I will talk to you all soon.
Thanks, Beth.
All right.
Beth.
Thanks.